Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Durbanites FPL Game Week 35 review, Game Week 36 preview. With just 3 more weeks to go, let's start by looking at the table. Fataliteam is still holding on there, 44 points in the lead. Is it enough to take the championship? Very, very hard to say with 3 incredible game weeks coming up, including double game week 37. Now, no changes in the table from last week, so everyone's still holding the same. A couple of fluctuations in terms of the splits in between, but very, very close at all aspects of the game. Now, looking at the Durbanites Cup, so we had the preliminary round this week, and Fatih and Hassan are both eliminated from the prelim round, unfortunately, guys. So going into the quarterfinals, these are the 8 teams that will face off. Not sure yet how the draw has worked. It will only be available after the cutoff, but I will try and keep you updated. Definitely keep an eye on your app. Look at the cup standoff, and you'll know which team you're coming up against. So good luck to everyone who's still in it. Now, looking at the player selections for last week, staples are few and far between as everyone tries to get the additional information around how can we differentiate, how can we get the extra points and move up in the table. Cole Palmer is one of those that is without a doubt favored by every single manager because of his great form recently. Phil Foden, another one that was 9 out of 10. And then Jordan Pickford, 6 out of 10 because of his heroics in the last few weeks. Didn't let anyone down this week either. Same with Alexander Isak. 6 out of 10 managers taking the chance on him and getting their rewards. Looking at the differentiators this week, Jared Bowen coming in 1 out of 10 managers, picking him up and definitely saving them in that midfield. Same with Heung-min Song, 2 out of 10 managers favoring him, and he definitely paid them back this week. Saka, 3 out of 10, and he's really coming back on form, probably at the right time for Arsenal. And no doubt the man, Kevin De Bruyne, 4 out of 10 managers taking a chance on him this week. He has come back from injury and he is firing on all cylinders, definitely driving Manchester City towards that 5 in a row. So let's see how that goes. Let's look now at the hits and misses. So from the hits, just a couple to call out. Really big week for the midfielders again. 35 plus points to Zax, Dora, myself, Zai, and Moobs. But Zai pulling apart by having the great super strikers team there. More than 25 points out of her strikers this week, making the difference and giving her the most points this week. Now, looking at the misses though, just one for Ammi, unfortunately captaining Phil Foden, who didn't play, and vice captain Trent Alexander-Arnold just picking up a single point in that game. So those are the hits and misses for this week, but let's look at how our selection did overall. Now, really strong showing from Pickford again, his second week as the number 1 for our team. Really good from 3 defenders scoring in the 8s there, so triple eights. And then look at the midfield selection. So Gordon, Bowen, De Bruyne, Saka, all double figures there. And then Son coming in with 9, so doing really well in his double game week. Isak, the captain for this week, 13 with his goals in the game as well. And Nicholas Jackson doing well for Chelsea to bring them up there. And Chelsea now on the back of the performance from himself as well as Chaloba and Palmer are now fighting for a European spot, if you can believe that. The bench, nothing too fancy there. Gilchrist and Branthwaite from Everton doing well with their clean sheets. Onana coming in with 4 points for Manchester United, and Carlton Morris then ending up as the reserve striker. Now, that team would have got you 104 and 127 with the bench boost, with a total cost of 80.8. So once again, with Mo Salah and Erling Haaland being out of it, very, very affordable teams. Now, looking at the fixture rating for the weeks coming ahead, guys, there are only 3 weeks left. So this is what it looks like for the rest of the season. Chelsea have some really good games, 3 very winnable games, and Brighton is currently struggling a bit with availability of players. So actually 4 good games for them, a good chance to get into Europe. Palmer is on form. Chaloba is doing really well. Nicholas Jackson, they really have a good run. You want to also look at Newcastle, who've got Burnley, then Brighton, Manchester United, maybe the only tricky fixture, and then Brentford. Again, really good run of games coming up for them. These are a few of the teams that still have 4 games to go this season. So really, you want to look at these guys. Spurs have a bit of a tougher time. Liverpool and Man City coming up in the next 2 weeks, but also Burnley and Sheffield United. And again, 4 games for Spurs in which they could score some points. Man City, another one with 4. With Fulham, Tottenham, a bit of a tricky situation in game week 37. But Wolves and West Ham on the other side. Manchester City also, only thing they need to focus on now is the season ahead, of course, for the league, and then the FA Cup at the end of that because they are out of Europe. Now, Arsenal are the other ones, currently the log leaders, giving away a game in hand to Manchester City, but they've got 2 very winnable games against Bournemouth and Everton. Again, Manchester United could be the one sticking point for them, but great form from all of their players currently. Not really their strikers, so we haven't recommended, but that midfield and defensive line is one that you really need to look at. Only problem with Arsenal is that they, as well as the rest of the teams highlighted here, only have 3 more games to play. So no double game week for them in game week 37. So think about that very carefully. But Arsenal, Brentford, Everton as well playing 2 other relegation candidates. So Sheffield United, of course, already relegated the past weekend, plus Luton. And then North Forest similarly fighting 2 relegation candidates. So really fighting for their life, which means that they will be playing really hard. Now, looking at who to be cautious with, Brighton are having some real trouble with injuries as well. They've got Aston Villa, Newcastle, Chelsea, and Manchester United. Probably the worst ending to a season for them. Really, really tough competition. All of them in the top 7. Then you've got, of course, Manchester United, who are taking on then Crystal Palace, then Arsenal, Newcastle in that double game week 37. Not really one to recommend there. And then Brighton for the last game week of the season. Then you've got Bournemouth as well, tough games. Wolves as well, tough games. West Ham, so very few games to choose in between. Of course, there are players here who could score in any game, but just urging you to caution. Now, looking at Liverpool, they're already struggling in the back end based on the performances last weekend. Then they've got Tottenham, who can be tricky. Villa, who are now fighting for to keep the European spot before they go to Wolves. Same with Palace, same with Villa. Brighton and Liverpool coming up before to Crystal Palace. So these are the teams I wouldn't really be focusing on, especially since the 2 that are playing in a double game week 37 don't have very good fixtures. Now, looking at the player selections, looking at the backline, highly doubtful Roberto Sanchez as well from Chelsea, as well as Nick Pope, who's back but doubtful. Then Emi Martinez from Villa, as well as Edison, all very doubtful. So that leaves the picks for Onana from Manchester United, who does get points for saves thanks to his terrible defense. But then you've also got Pickford, who's doing really well 2 weeks in a row, really, really good. Everton, as you saw, have a great run against relegation candidates, so they have the chance here to actually do something. And then you've got Dubravka. So let's look at the back lines, player selections here. Sanchez is now highly doubtful from Chelsea, and then of course you've got Pope, Martinez, and Edison, who are now all doubtful. Pope coming back from injury, not sure whether he will replace Dubravka, but I think in this critical time they're probably going to stick with Dubravka for now. Looking at the picks then for goalkeepers, Onana's a pick for Manchester United. Tough games coming up, but 4 game weeks, and he does get a lot of points for saves made, even though his defense is pretty bad. So that might be an option. Pickford has been on a great run. Everton have some good games coming ahead, so definitely one you might want to look at. And then you've got Dubravka from Newcastle, but with Pope coming back, there's a chance that he might not play at some stage. Now, looking at the defense, Newcastle have a terrible time with their defense. Trippier out, Botman out, Scar out. They are missing a lot of first-time players, so that's going to put a lot of pressure on that defense. From Liverpool, Conor Bradley and Virgil van Dijk, or Van Dijk's doubtful. Bradley's out so far for the season, it looks like. Same with the Stupinen from Brighton. Thiago Silva is highly doubtful for Chelsea, and they're going to feel that. Between him and Disasi, they have been providing a little bit of this defensive stability, allowing Chelsea to get the results they have been. For Spurs, Udogi's out, and then Bogley from Sheffield United. Now, looking at defenders that we want to recommend, Chalobah is doing well for Chelsea, 2 goals in 2 games now, so definitely one that you want to look at, even if there's no clean sheet. For Brentford, with a run of games they have, Roslev's been really good at keeping a clean sheet and can also put in a goal or 2. That being said, last week he didn't play a full game, just came in for a few minutes, so maybe one to be careful of. For Newcastle, with the top three defenders out. You're looking at Dan Burn or Livramento to probably sustain that team. Even with the games they have, they're going to have to pull out some wins and pull out some big match-winning performances. Arsenal's trio in defense really can't go wrong with them. They have been absolutely stunning in the games. And then you've got, of course, Everton, Jared Brantwaite, the youngster, scoring as well as keeping clean sheets. And looking at Everton's run of games, you might want to include him. And then Kyle Walker for Manchester City, he's on top form again, really making those attacking runs. So well worth it to get a clean sheet and or a goal or an assist. Now, looking at the midfield selections, of course, we've got Neto out from midfield, Matoma's out, Bowen's doubtful, Jota from Liverpool's out, Chelsea's Sterling is highly doubtful. Same with Eze being doubtful. Manchester United also have trouble with Rashford, and now Fernandez has picked up a knock. So, looking at that, the selection that we have again based on the 3 game weeks coming up, definitely got to look at Palmer and Foden. Those two have been leading in the last couple of weeks. De Bruyne is coming back on top form, so recommending him even though he's an expensive choice. That Arsenal quadruple there, Saka, Odegaard, Trossard, Havertz, between them they have been carrying the team really, really well. Havertz is on insanely good form currently and a good pick at a fairly low cost. Don't forget though that Arsenal only have 3 games less this season versus 4 from most of the other teams or from a lot of the other contending teams. So that's one that you have to be careful of. Then looking at Newcastle, you're looking at Anthony Gordon and Harvey Barnes. They're trying to make a difference, but Bruno Guimaraes as well coming into good form. For Brentford, Brian Mbuemo's back. He's taking the penalties. He's definitely one that can get you a few points considering the games they have. Same with Garnacho for Manchester United. Tough fixtures, but that's where the youngster comes in. He's really, really fast. He's very creative and can take a shot. So maybe well worth it if you have some money issues in midfield and are looking for a player with 4 games to go. Dwight McNeil from Everton, he's been at the centre of most of their creative play, so definitely one that you want to look at if you favour Everton's games. Eze and Olise from Crystal Palace, these two have been dynamic together, so one that you want to look at. Eze is doubtful, just calling that out again, but Olise has been on great form as well. And then for Notts Forest, who are again fighting for their lives this season as they go into the last 3 games, you've got Morgan Gibbs White, definitely well worth a shout out. Looking at the forwards, a lot of injuries again. Winnie is out for Notts Forest, Ferguson for Brighton. Haaland's back. He's still slightly doubtful after that knock, but I believe that he will play considering that City are chasing this title now. Then you've got Cunha and Tony. Tony's actually now on the latest update not a doubtful for that game, so really good. And same with Cunha. Calvert Lewin is back in for Everton and been scoring well, and Semenyo is doubtful for Bournemouth. Now, looking at the selections, though, you've got to go Alexander Isaac. He's doing really well. Newcastle have good games and he's on top form. Callum Wilson also doing well to come in for just a few minutes on the last game and picking up a goal. So those two are ones that you want to look at. Definitely calling out Erling Haaland from Manchester City. Alvarez hasn't been getting a game when Haaland is fit and available, and Alvarez hasn't been in great goal scoring form at the current time. Brentford looking at their duo of Wissa and Tony. Depending on the money that you have, Wissa's just about 40% of what Tony is. So, in terms of cost, so you might want to make a choice there. Calvert Lewin for Everton. Again, he's come back on form and he's definitely leading the line for Everton. From Manchester United, the youngster Rasmus Højlund. Again, not the easiest games, guys, but he's a fairly cost effective pick if you're looking for guys that are also have 4 games to play and could possibly be a differentiator. That's the man I'm calling out. Then you've got Jean-Philippe Mateta as well for Crystal Palace. Again, Palace don't have a double game week, but he's definitely on form. I see I've mentioned Calvert-Lewin again, so just showing you how much of an impact he's having. But then calling out Nicholas Jackson from Chelsea. As Chelsea are chasing that European spot, he's becoming more and more key figure for them up front and picking up a goal this last weekend. And then Nottingham Forest again in that fight for relegation. You've got to back Chris Wood. He hasn't picked up a goal in the last 3 games, but he has been popping them in fairly regularly this season. So that's a wrap up, guys. Don't forget, this is a very short selection time, so just a few hours left before making your final selections. Good luck for the week ahead. Don't forget that game week 37 is a double, so maybe try and save that. Save that extra transfer if you can to use for that week. But good luck, and good luck to all those in the cup, and catch up with you on the next update. So much for now.